Coaching Game. I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight my guest is Stephanie Licata. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Stephanie is a business and career transition. No, she does career transition. A business and
Career coach.
career coach and consultant. And she's going to tell us actually the difference, if indeed there is one, between coaching and consulting. That's something that we're going to talk about. But first, let me tell you a little bit about the show. As you know, this show is based on the magnificent, ingenious points of view. And in the points of view, there are 65 cards that correspond to stories and coaching quotes and coaching questions. And so I usually ask my guests to pick out a card, and Stephanie picked out like 23.
I couldn't choose.
And they're all cool, actually. And I made her narrow it down to 3. So the cards that she chose are, one is leadership, one is authenticity, and one is learning. So we're going to see how all that ties together. I noticed that the cards are all very bright, and they all, with the exception of learning, are groups. So I think that's probably
Well, it's a group of toes.
well, that's true. They
all need each other.
There are 5 toes, and yes, in order to get in and get that shoe going, the toes are. So good point. Good point. So first of all, tell us how. Let's see. I guess I want to know what's your background.
So my background,
not from like I was born in a log cabin, but it's yes.
My background is I started out my career actually doing 2 things, working in the field of marketing and also youth programming. And I kind of just always kept my feet in both pools of business and education. And so my undergraduate degree is actually in counseling, and then I pursued a certification in coaching at New York University, and also. And I got so into coaching and also how it impacts groups and organizations that I just recently actually finished my master's in social and organizational psychology at Columbia University.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So we think she knows what she's talking about. Tell me what organizational. She has the papers that says she does. So according to, tell us what, because I need to know, what is organizational psychology? What is it? Sounds fascinating, but how do you take the psychology of an organization?
Well, it looks at the psychology of groups and then how that impacts, looks at leadership, the psychology of groups, it looks at motivation, what motivates people in an organization to perform, to work together. It looks at conflict. It looks at all the different things that impact an organization operating effectively that are the human pieces of it. You know?
Okay.
So, and for example, we study things like change management and what goes into planning effective change. How teams come together, how teams are effective, how communication between teams impacts an organization. And then all of the external factors, an organization exists in the world, and how do the external factors impact the internal factors of an organization such that they do
So
their
it's
job.
like not only the psychology of the organization, but it's where the organization fits into the larger picture.
Right, exactly.
And is there room in that for the individual, or is that a whole? There is.
Absolutely, because groups are just bunches of people.
Oh, that's true.
Right? So
I always tell people that about executives. And executives are people too. Don't forget that. Yeah.
and there's a lot of family counseling models that are used to understand groups and how groups operate and how they play off each other. So absolutely, there is the individual person comes into play at a lot of times, especially when you're studying leadership and understanding how to lead, how to be led. Also membership, when you're studying how do I be just a member of this group.
A team, yeah. How do I be a part of a team? Right. Yeah.
It's basically all the stuff they never teach you, but you're supposed to know when you get to a company or get to a business. All the stuff you're just supposed to know by being born.
It's amazing. It's so needed. Is it a new degree or has it been around for a while?
No, it's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Social psychology,
right.
And then just applying it to business, applying it to organization. We've discovered, obviously in the past, 25 years that it's not enough to just tell someone to do something. Like human beings want to know why. Why? They want to actually enjoy what they do. They want to feel some heightened sense of purpose. So we have to start doing business differently if we want to accommodate the reality of how human beings have evolved.
Right.
So.
And that's, the reason I think it's so needed is I've done training with, one is Goddard, it's very linear thinking and very scientific, and tech people, and they're also very focused. But these are the people that get promoted into management positions, and it's like, nobody told them how to manage. They know how to do everything, and they're excellent in their job. But it's that one aspect that, so you decided that was something that needs to be done.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is interesting. What you say is correct. Like, technical acumen will get someone promoted, but then they're in a position where they have to use skill sets that have nothing to do with why they got promoted. And they need to have that. They need to be able to communicate with people. They need to be able to know how to have difficult conversations. Like, that has nothing to do with knowing how to run, you know, some kind of network system, whatever that is. I'm not a tech person. But it has nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with understanding how to manage people, which sometimes that skill is just not innate for people.
Right, but it's, so are you, I hear you saying that this is a skill that can be taught, though.
I personally believe it can be taught. There's always debates about that, like, are leaders born, are they made, you know, top 5 things that leaders are that you didn't think they were, you know, all those little...
We were talking about you're not allowed to have anything unless you have a list, because nobody, they want to be able to take it off.
That's
so top
true.
5 things
top
of a leader.
5 things, and everything, the whole secret of the universe is going to be boiled down to top 5 things. So, you know, you have to be able to, you know, understand how to harness that within yourself, and you also have to be able to harness that within each other. Like, I honestly, for me, I believe leadership is understanding how to elicit leadership in others. Like, how can I get the best of someone else?
Oh, I agree. I agree. Yeah, I always tell when I was in the corporate world and supervisor, it's like, I'm training you to take my job. Come right here, and because that's really the way it should just be handed up and up. Oh, well, there's a reason why I'm not in corporate anymore, but we won't get into that.
We'll have to do our time.
Yeah, I think so, just so we understand
of course.
This is something we do or do not want, and also the problems that our clients are having, because did you see, how long have you been doing this?
How long have I been coaching? I've been coaching.
Well, yeah, and consulting.
Well, I've been coaching and consulting professionally since 2007.
Okay, you came in just before the craziness. Did you see a big change come about in 2008 when the economy just tanked and everybody went down with it?
I've actually seen it manifest even more recently, that just this collective uncertainty that everyone now lives in. I think it was a big reality check for people, and I think it created questions for people to ask themselves, like, is this place I work, or is this industry I work in going to last forever? And if it doesn't, should I be prepared? And how do I prepare myself for that? And that's kind of why I started to focus more on career coaching and career change coaching, because you have to be ready at any minute to shift.
Yeah.
And people hate that. They just do.
Change is scary. But that's interesting, because I equate it to, and that's why I went back to career coaching, because I wasn't doing that. And then in 2008, I had an HR background, so everybody was coming, oh my God, I'm losing my job, I lost my job. But I equate it to having the rug pulled out from underneath you. And it's like, okay, I played by the rules. What happened? You know, now, and if you play by the rules and you still don't get it, then how do you adjust?
Oh yeah, playing by the rules actually guarantees you nothing other than playing by the rules.
Yeah, and a pretty boring existence.
But I think that's what happened in 2008. We really saw, like, there is no rug. We were actually never standing on anything.
Exactly.
We were just out
the
there
rug
in the abyss
was an illusion. Yes,
the rug was an illusion, right? And
I love that. There is no rug.
There's no rug, there's no box.
You just destroyed my whole metaphor, but that's okay.
We've been talking about outside the box. It doesn't exist. It's all these things we in our mind, we needed objects to define our choices, or to validate our choices. So we needed to feel that this is how it was going to go. And I understand that. By understanding human psychology, I understand why people had that need. It's just, I think people are, you know, becoming more real. I always say I'm an optimist realist. My glass is half full. It's just half full with vodka. You know, and I'm not even a drinker. It's just, you know, I got to be ready at any time, you know, to shift into reality, you know. And I'm an optimist. I believe in every person's ability to overcome anything. But I also understand there are circumstances we can't control, and you have to be ready to face those at any given moment.
Tell me where authenticity, oh, I just stepped on my mic, which is attached to my arm. Tell me where authenticity comes into play with that concept. Is it good to be authentic? Or I know one of the reasons I'm out of corporate is because I'm hoping I was non-authentic because I did not like the person I was becoming. It's like, oh, this isn't me. I'm too mean and political. Right. So where does authenticity play a part?
I think that authenticity has to do with your relationship to yourself, but I don't mean that in a sort of like fluffy, like, you know, hallmark way. It has to do with you understanding yourself and how you fit into what the world looks like. And do you want to fit into what the world looks like, or are you interested in innovating something different? You know, authenticity, I believe, has to do with innovation, because all of the things that came to be, all of the inventions, all of the concepts, all of the ideas, you know, that we never thought, you know, I'd be able to, you know, that the video sort of chatting you see in the Jetsons was going to be how we do business now. Like, I remember being a kid and be like, wow, that's so cool that you could see someone while you're talking. Like, somebody at some point decided
envisioned that,
to have that come into reality. And part of that is being authentic enough to know when you have a crazy idea that it could happen. You know, and that takes being authentic. That takes being willing to say, hey, you know, I could go along with this. And there's nothing wrong with going along with a system that's already been created. For some people, their personality and, you know, their makeup, that works for them. For some people, it doesn't. So, and that's also something I learned when I was studying, is that personality has so much to do with where you wind up, how you succeed, how you communicate, how you operate in a group. So much, you know. So it's, I mean, everybody really is unique. If you think about how many human beings there are in the world, that's how many prototypes we have.
Yes, so there is no mold into which you should fit.
Yes, and that's just, and that's why I'm kind of like anti the top 5 this. And I understand people's attention spans are short, and that's why we need to write blogs like that. But, you know, I'm really, I really speak out against sort of that, you know, self-proclaimed guru who's going to help you learn everything you need to know so you could be successful. You know, a lot of what's happening now is that people are inventing their own system and then wanting to share it with other people and sell it. And the reality is that that's what worked for them. That was what worked for them to become authentic. And when you try to superimpose that system onto you, that's not actually authentic. Their road was their road, and that robs you of finding your road. And you can't, I'm not saying you can't use it as a guide or as information. And you can even steal some of the points if they work for you, if they resonate, go for it, But I think it does people a disservice, and there are a lot of people making a lot of money off of people's vulnerability. And that's where it's not authentic for me to do that. So I'm never going to tell you that I know the way to make you succeed. I'm going to tell you that I'm really interested in helping you find your model for success, and that I can't give it to you. And that's the bad news. The good news is it actually is within you, and it's my job to help you find it.
Wow. Do you get any pushback on that? Do people go, wait a minute, I hired you to help me get a job?
It's true. And I kind of say to people, well, you're in charge of your life. And I would love to help you be the CEO of your life, but I'm the CEO of mine, and I can't run 2 companies at the same time. I could,
and she does, yes,
but it does not serve me to do it for anybody, and I think people want that, and you know, and that's the thing. If they want to do it for them without discovering their own way, then they're just not my client, and that's okay.
So your cautionary advice, for lack of a better word, would be nobody really has the secret to your success.
No, exactly.
So all those things I've signed up for, pay.
Right. And sometimes those people are giving out great free material. But I always say, you know, before you purchase anything, you need to find out what successul business or purpose this person was succeeding in before they were telling you how to succeed.
Oh, that's, you never think to do that. It's like, where's your expertise background coming from?
Yes. And then, by the way, it's 2014, so anyone can actually call themselves a coach. You don't have to do anything.
I know, and that was a problem when I've been a coach since 2004, and that was we were very concerned. What about the people who just hang up or went to one of those places on the weekend and took 3 hours of training? It's like, okay, now you're a coach. It's like, no, they're not. Or maybe they are. I don't know, but
it takes $100 and an hour to call yourself a coach. That's how long it takes up to put a free website. And call
That's true.
I'm a coach.
And a business consultant. I'm not even sure it takes that much. It's like, but so what kind of clients come to you?
So right now, like for example, I work with people that are changing jobs or looking for a new job. You know, so I'm working with actually two different people. One person is just looking for a new job. The other person is planning a transition.
Ah, nice.
So the personal clients I work with are those types of clients. I also work with small businesses or mid-sized businesses to help them improve their process, help them improve their team, help them improve the way they're approaching staff development. So then I'm working with companies also. But directly with career coaching, I'm working with people either planning for a transition, either looking for a new job, or they're looking to go into a new industry, or possibly explore entrepreneurship. There's no one way that, you know, one type of person, any kind of person who's making some shift in their career, whether it's a dramatic one or a small one. Yeah.
And even someone coming back or creating a new career, you know, like I often get, no, not often, but I occasionally get people who have, you know, been doing other things, like taking care of kids, or just took a little breather, and it's like, okay, now, and it's a whole different world out there.
Absolutely, and that's a big thing, especially a lot of their, you know, one of my target markets is moms that are going back to work.
Oh, great.
And they have been left out of, you know, if you miss 3 years of technology now, it's like missing 20 years.
Right.
So it's helping them to understand, you know, how all this is working, like how does LinkedIn work, you know, how does networking pay off, you know, how do I, you know, leverage my personal network and leverage traditional, you know, job searching. You can't just do one thing. You can't just sit there and apply for jobs. That's not. You're gonna drive.
You mean Monster.com does not have my back?
No, I'm serious.
I think, what is the percentage on that? Isn't it like
it's
2% of people find jobs through that?
I honestly don't even know. But all I was just telling you earlier, like almost every job I've ever had, no one had before me. Some conversation ensued with someone where I fell into it. It doesn't mean you shouldn't apply online for jobs. Like I've applied online for jobs for contract work before. I still do, you know, when I'm getting different contracts. But it cannot be your only thing, and to have it be your only thing, I mean, this is where the authenticity piece comes in. You have to be able to get on the phone with people. You have to be able not be afraid to say, hey, you know, I'm looking for work, or hey, you know, this is what I do. Is there anything you might, you know, might be in your, you know, in the back of your mind that you or someone else you know does? Really, networking has really been the biggest success for me. It doesn't mean that it's going to work for everybody. Some people just don't feel comfortable. They want to just get a recruiter and get a job. That's okay. I'm never going to tell someone to do it my way. Right. But you have to be open to trying different things.
But you know, I've had a couple of clients that have, and you alluded to this, but I think you said that any job that you've had, you created in your head kind of first, and said, you know, it's like, we're not recommending that. But what I've had a few, it's risky. I've had a few people who said, okay, you know what they really want is a sales position. I'm going to go in, but I'm going to tell them in 3 months, I'm going to ask them to if I can prove myself in sales, I'm going to ask them to consider me for their marketing or something, or whatever. And that's been pretty successful too. It's like, it's not the be-all and end-all job that you're necessarily looking for.
Right.
But let's talk about where learning comes into this whole equation here. First of all, let's debunk the idea of the stable resume.
Oh.
There was such a thing prior to 2008. There was people who had their retirement planned out, and they were just hanging in there for a few more years, and then it all went kablooey. Right. So, where does the learning aspect come in, and how does that show up on a resume?
Well, first of all, you have to be able to show that you can participate in business in 2014, in some industry in 2014. And no matter what industry that is, it comes along with some kind of technical ability. So you have to be able to understand social media, to understand search engine optimization. Even if it has nothing to do with what you're going to do, you have to understand now how the world is working. You know, this is not like, the internet's not going anywhere. Like social media, it's not going anywhere. Like and we have to like accept that. So part of that learning piece is understanding how to inform yourself about your own industry, about other industries, about what are moves you can make. You know, I can't decide tomorrow to be a doctor. Like I'd have to. That would not be a realistic switch. You know, I could decide tomorrow to, you know, be a corporate trainer, and that would be. And I've done training before, so it's not like a weird thing like that. If I decided tomorrow I want to be a full-time corporate trainer, I could easily do that. Right? I have enough expertise and background to do that. So the learning piece is really about keeping yourself open to continuing to not learn about what's out there, but also being able to be in tune with your own self and to understand what do you really want to wake up and do, and you know, what do you want, you know, what impact do you want to make, you know, on the world? Do you want to make an impact on the world? You know, to some people that's important. Like that excites me to no end. Like I just want to make a difference all day long and just get paid to be awesome. But it's not a job, but I could invent it. So I'm trying to invent
Aren't we
that.
all, yes. Aren't we all, yes.
So.
But okay, so really the old idea of like get this job and keep it and advance up, it's just not happening now, and it's not even advantageous to you anymore.
It's not. It isn't, because you have to expose yourself to different things. And again, I'm not saying that there are not people that are succeeding having one job. I'm not saying that that's not happening. I'm just saying that since 2008, the frequency of that happening has decreased.
Yes, yeah.
And you know, it's keeping yourself. You know, even if you develop a hobby that helps you develop a skill that could be transferable, you don't have to make money doing it, you know, but it's okay. You know, it's just keeping your mind working and your mind engaged is so important.
And I often tell people if they are planning a transition, it's like don't quit your day job, go volunteer. You know, oh, I've always wanted to be a veterinarian. Well, good, go volunteer and see if that's truly what you want to do, because the veterinarian and helping save dogs is nice, but there's also poop scooping and other things that you might not like. So it's like, you're right, keep the mind fresh. And so what's the piece of advice? What are 5 top, no, I'm just kidding. Five top things that you, what do you tell, what do you tell your clients?
Part of how I tell them is to approach any career change kind of like, there was these books when I was a kid, it was called Choose Your Own Adventure. And you would read this book about some kid on a scavenger hunt. It would be like, turn to page 13 if you want to ride through the woods. Turn to page 25 if you want to ride on the road. And there was always a different outcome. But the best part was you could always go back and try a different way. So I kind of tell them, like, I know you want one answer, but I'm actually going to help you do all the thinking that's going to open you to more possibilities. So I could coach you to get one job in this area, but it could cut you off from things that actually you might even want to do more, or it could cut you off from a combination of things you might want to do together, and that's okay. You know, it was very popular advice, it still is popular advice, to tell people to focus on one thing and do it well. It doesn't work for everybody.
No.
It doesn't work for me. I'm actually at peak performance when I'm doing a lot of different things. My clients actually get served better when I'm busier and when I'm doing different things. And that's fine. For some people, that works. So I really, part of my advice, you know, to people is to approach it like an adventure. And the next thing is also to find the connections between everything you've done. You know, let's see if we can find all the connections between everything you've done.
That's the fun part about reinvention. It's like, because people go, oh, I couldn't do that. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Didn't you manage on this job even though it wasn't management? Yeah, I love doing that. That's the unearthing the hidden talents.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know, when people come and say, I want, what is the leadership card? What is that? It's like, I love, you said something about they need to be the CEO of their life. What does that mean? I mean, because not everybody's born to be a leader, and not everybody wants to be a leader. But where does that play in your...
Well, the biggest misconception is that to be a leader, you have to be loud or outgoing. And to be a leader in your own life means to be present and cognizant to what you need to propel yourself to move forward. When you're a leader in a group, you need to be present and cognizant to how this group can accomplish a goal or move forward. And you can use those skills in your own life. They say, like, to be a leader, you need followers, but actually, to be a leader, you need to just be alive, because if I'm leading myself, like, I'm a person going in a certain direction. I have to know how to direct myself into the right place. So leadership is just really an ability that anybody in any industry needs, and that's one of the great things from being a small business consultant and like working even with some mid-sized businesses, is that I've worked in almost every industry that you could possibly imagine, from education to healthcare, nonprofit, marketing, coaching, training, tech, software. Leadership, you need leadership everywhere. So helping people to cultivate leadership ability, whether or not they're going to manage direct reports, is an advantage immediately. It's automatically an advantage.
Right, and when you were talking about, like, it's like, okay, you need to know a lot of different skills and you work better multitasking. I think after 2008, when everything was downsized and outsourced and people were running around doing things that, you know, there's no more, that's not my job. I don't think I don't think that's a valid excuse for not doing something. And it's, rather than consider it a chore and a burden and it's like, oh, look what my boss is doing me, the opportunity, opportunity.
You never know when you might be called on to learn something that could get you your next job.
Yeah, I know you like to refer to the Karate Kid.
I did.
Tell us about the Karate Kid.
I'm such a horrible 80s girl. It's totally not, I mean, this is not my original thing. Obviously, I've seen this used in many self-empowerment, you know, courses and things like that. But, you know, if you watch the original version of the Karate Kid, you know, when, you know, Daniel...
so much better.
when Daniel's son, you know, was looking to become a karate master, he got annoyed because, you know, Mr. Miyagi was trying to teach him how to do all these other things like paint the fence and
wash the car.
Wax the car. But ultimately, all those things came together for him to be a master. And he didn't know when he was going to use them. And that's the part that people focus on, wax on, wax off. But the reality is he didn't know in the moment when he was going to use them. But he instinctively knew. Like, that happens to me every day. I'll start doing a task and I'm like, oh, I learned this back then when I thought it was really annoying. And I'm like, now I get it, you know? So
I love that. When things come together and it's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, that's why I had to teach myself how to use Constant Contact in 2006, because I tell everyone how to use it, whatever, you know? So
who even knew it was around in 2006
besides
you?
I remember using it a really long time ago and it was really not easy to use. But
so we've got like a minute. So what else would you say if in today's climate, what's some of the best advice you can give people besides being the CEO and being flexible and contacting you if they need need a coach? It's just a general overall rule.
It's to approach risk with information. So part of what sound change, you know, why I came up with that name, is that when you make a sound change, you're taking a risk at the intersection of you're taking a chance at the intersection of risk and reality. So risk doesn't mean that you're throwing caution to the wind. Risk and reality can be friends. So you can take a risk and you can be profoundly related to reality, and that just sort of helps you to be able to dodge any of the obstacles along the way. So that's really what I want to leave people.
Maybe they should be friends, risk and reality.
Oh, they're great friends.
And if you want to find out more about that, at the bottom of the page is www.soundchange.com, which is Stephanie's website. Stephanie, I have to tell you, she did this on such short notice, and you were so great, such a good guest. You've given us so much information, and you didn't give us the top 5 anything. So thank you, Stephanie, for being on the show.
Thank you for